Hello, lovely souls. Welcome to the Awakening to Your Soul Self podcast. I'm Christina Loureiro, certified angel messenger and angel Reiki master teacher. My spiritual journey began in the spring of 2022 when my spirit team nudged me to listen to the amazing Angels in Awakening podcast. Since then, I've been learning to use my spiritual gifts and growing increasingly curious about spirituality and various healing modalities. I'm so excited for you to join me on this special journey as we dive into spirituality, healing, while exchanging our wisdom and profound insights with other remarkable healers. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, get cozy, and let's embark on the spiritual journey together. Hello, lovely souls. I know it's August Archangel series, but I recently recorded this episode with Andrea. She's an Ascension Facilitator, and there were so many messages that came through for both of us. And it was a very uplifting conversation. And I just felt this nudge from the angels to release it now instead of when it's supposed to come out in November. So here's the episode. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you had any aha moments or anything that resonated with you. I'd love to know. Hello, lovely
Yes.
souls. Welcome back to the Awakening to Your Soul Self podcast. I'm Christina, and I have Andrea here. She's an Ascension Facilitator. Welcome.
Thank you, Christina. I'm so excited to be here to share my story, to exchange wisdom and have just a really, really fun conversation with you and for your audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I always like the guests to start off with who are you and what do you do?
Okay, well, so my name is Andrea, which you already know. So what I well, about 3 years ago, my story starts from 3 years ago when I was working as a lawyer. So I was in that field for 6 years, and over the course of the last few years, thank you to the pandemic for making me see the light. And since pivoting several times to now, I'm now working as a transformational coach and energy worker for corporate professionals, and of course, as well as soulful entrepreneurs looking to awaken to a life of joy, and finding their divine purpose, finding their sacred calling in life, because that's been my journey. So I'm passionate about it. I want to share this message out. This is the area that I want to help people with.
That's amazing. Do you mind going into your spiritual awakening, just a brief story?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how brief it can be, but I'm gonna try and keep it brief.
Okay.
So my spiritual awakening, it was quite a bit of a fun yet smooth adventure, actually. To start from the beginning, like, for as long as I could remember, I wanted to find work that didn't feel like work. Like, it didn't make sense to me to be spending half of my day, and life doing something miserable. And I used to look at other people who had found their thing, with so much envy. It's like they had found who they were. They would walk into the restaurant at the age of 15 and they knew, oh yeah, I want to be a chef, or I want to be a restaurateur. And I wanted that so badly myself. I didn't know it at that time. But
Yeah.
looking back now, I think I've spent my whole life questioning who I am and what is my purpose here on earth. And that, I've always felt like that there has to be more to life than this. It is just that at that stage of consciousness, I was looking at it from the perspective of a career. So when I quit law and I started following my joy bit by bit, pivot by pivot by pivot, all following all the intuitive nudges that don't make sense whatsoever. And so it led me to what I do now with energy healing. And during this entire process, over the course of, 2.5 years, I came in contact with beautiful teachers of life, whether it's instructors or facilitators or just random people who taught me how to access my intuition, spirit guides, and all of whom slowly, allowed my soul to reveal to me who I was, who I used to be, what I came here to do in terms of my sacred calling, and just like, as a human, to be honest, and also the life that we're all supposed to live as humans, which is a life of joy, right? A joy of peace and love. And so overall, because it was so gradual, it was just all part, it was as if I was just going through life. You're just going through this
Mm-hmm.
accelerated adventure of life. And I think there was a period of time where, over a course of 6 months, maybe in the second half of 2022, where I think I experienced, kind of like a bit of a dark night of a soul. But in saying that, I was also incredibly burnt out. So that probably contributed to that too,
Yeah.
where I was just emptied of everything. Like everything. I was just like, what is this even? I feel nothing.
Yeah.
I feel numb, but at the same time, there's a bit of pain. There's so much uncertainty and confusion. But yeah, I think I was just emptied, and I was just ready to be filled with love and light and all the things that we're meant to have as part of our natural state of being. And after I got over that time period, it's just been upwards and onwards at that time. And I would say that
Mm,
that has been the spiritual awakening story.
that's awesome. I always find it unique when people are in those corporate jobs and then they completely 180 their life and are now
Yes.
spiritual healers. Because like law is
Yes.
very like legal and such, and then spirituality is all like love and joy and peace and
Oh,
that's interesting.
yeah, absolutely. With law, it's all about, it's very litigious. It's all about finding, finding the best case, not just for everyone, but for your client specifically, even if it's to the
Right.
detriment of the other. And law is about work. It's very restrictive. It's very confined and working within the parameters. Whereas when it comes to energy healing and spirituality, you're delving deep and you're delving far and wide as well. And it's beautiful. It's such a wonderful transition. And whenever I hear about people going from corporate to diving into spirituality, I'm just like, girl, yes.
That's amazing. So can you talk about your work? So you're an Ascension Facilitator. Can you go into what that is and who does that help?
Okay, so you know how, I think we all know at this point, I'm sure your audience would know that at a subatomic level, we're all made of empty space, right? That is filled with energy, and all energy that vibrates at a particular level of frequency, based on what stage of consciousness we're in. So one of the most life-changing works that I came into in the very beginning of this journey, which is really two years ago, was this guy,
Mhm.
David Hawkins. He created this diagram that shows the scale of consciousness, detailing at the bottom is the most dense vibration,
Mm.
vibrating at the level of, say, shame, I think, and fear. And the lightest, highest vibration at the top is the vibration of enlightenment. So ascension is basically like a spiritual awakening where we heal, and as we do the inner work, we release the trauma and the old conditioning. Our general vibration, our energy starts to rise, and our
Yeah.
consciousness goes through that process of ascension towards enlightenment. I'm not saying that many of us will ever reach enlightenment, but we will for
Yeah.
sure, at the very least, reach love and joy and acceptance and peace, right? So
Yeah.
the process of going from the lower vibration, say for example shame, to love, is ascension. So as an ascension facilitator, I assist my clients with the healing and the releasing of old beliefs, old conditioning, and stagnant energy, so that they can ascend to new levels of consciousness along with their vibrations. And I do this by, working with my clients' belief systems. The most, I could say, like, the most recent example I can give was from last month. I was working on a client's money block. He's a healer himself. He's been a healer for 2-3 decades. And money was something that he always had an issue with. And we went digging through his beliefs around money. And it turns out we found out it was his mother that told him that it wasn't good to have a lot of money because rich people did bad things. We deep dived into one of his past lives where, he was a rich man stealing from the other poor peasants in his community until his
Wow.
head was, yeah. And then he had this vision. It was like, when I asked him, I was like, is there a past life that is related to this? And he immediately opened his eyes and he was like, the first vision that came to mind was my head was chopped off by people, yeah, people in this community, because he was a rich person, and because he was taking money from all the other people in his community. And so now with that, he's now in this particular, he probably has a belief somewhere that states like it's not good to have money. So he can try
Mm.
as much as possible to build his business, try as much as possible to gather money, but it's just not coming in because it wasn't safe for him to have money. It wasn't good for him to have money. It didn't resonate. And so what I did was I entered, a couple of his chakras, cleared the dense energy and the beliefs within the chakras, installed some new beliefs. And literally 4 days later, he scored his highest paying client to date. So
That's
it's like,
amazing.
yeah, it's just such deep work that needs to go out to the people. It needs to go out to the world. And it's deep, pure, essential work as well. Yeah. So that's what I do as
Yeah,
an Ascension Facilitator.
that's amazing. And it is interesting how our beliefs from our past lives dwindle down to this current lifetime.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Like, people think that it's just it's just this life and it's a bunch of DNA that maybe came from our parents or something like that. But there's
Yeah, yeah.
so much more to it. We are carrying beliefs and programs that span beyond time and space. And I love that more and more people are waking up to this knowledge, and they're really starting to realize, really starting to make the effort to look within, to venture within, to see where exactly things have come from, and to start questioning the reality that we live in, because it's so much more than what we see in our five senses.
Absolutely. And I think now people are slowly starting to awaken to that idea
Yes.
of past lives and, heaven, the other side, God, universe, source, whatever resonates with you, that, we don't know what happened to our past lives, but are there
Mm,
certain things that have carried over? Like if you meet somebody and you're like, I feel like I know you from somewhere, probably from a past life, or like you were saying,
yes.
beliefs have traveled down. So that's
Yes.
just very
Yes.
interesting.
Yes, it really is. And I love that you have this podcast, Christina, because I feel like
Thanks.
through you doing what brings you joy, and I know that this brings you joy. This is
Yeah.
a passion of yours. Through you just being you, you get to spread this awareness, you get to create this impact to the world. And I'm pretty sure, there's a part of you in a previous past life that is somehow related to this somehow.
Yeah.
Otherwise this passion wouldn't be here, just the way it is. So yeah, I just want to take a moment just to just like put in that note, that note of credit, that the work that you do is great, and it's important, and it's really, really important, especially at this time.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to create this podcast for anybody that was curious about spirituality. I had my
Yeah.
spiritual awakening 2 years ago, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm into, what I'm not.
Mm.
But it's easier just to get people on a podcast and talk about it instead of reading
Yes.
hundreds of books. Why don't I just get the people on here, and then people can listen and learn and see what resonates with them and what doesn't. So thank you for shouting out.
No, no, absolutely. And the thing with getting a bunch of people online is because you get to bring together the the rich diversity that is
Yeah.
humanity, right? Because you read a book and yeah, that's just one book. And you're probably going to spend, like, maybe you retain 10% of that book, and that book is probably going to take you a week or two to read in
Yeah.
amidst the chaos of modern life. But you bring a variety of guests on, they're talking about the things that they're really important, sorry, the things that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, there's that transference of energy that can't really be
Mm.
described in words, but you can hear it and you can feel it. And, like, I feel that from you. So
Thanks.
it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful medium the way you're doing it. Yeah.
Thank you. So I am a little curious, how did you find this ascension work?
Well, actually, the Ascension work found me because, when I quit law, I don't know anything about personal development. Nothing.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like I had people who were into personal development or friends or whatever. A large majority of my friends, they've had maybe their dad was a motivational speaker, or they knew a friend who was doing healing work, or they themselves had psychic abilities that I had zero, nothing. I didn't even know what mindset was until 2020. And I didn't know that coaches outside of, like, sports coaches or like soccer
Yeah.
coaches or something, I didn't know that existed until end of 2020. So
Mm.
when I decided to quit law and just follow my joy, I just basically like to the best of my ability, I allowed life to just unfold. And then one day, I was working with a mindset coach in his coaching institute here in Australia. This was
Mm-hmm.
end of 2021. I suddenly felt this nudge, like it was just an intuitive nudge. It was just like, maybe you should look into the quantum field and, like, look into that,
Mm.
see what that's about. I have no idea what the quantum field is. Like, I don't know what that
Yeah.
is. And and then it just so happened that I was like Facebook friends with this like galactic specialist. Um and her name was mentioned by two different friends at two separate times. And I just kind of like Facebook friended her, a few months prior, but I didn't really see anything much about it. And then at one point she put up a post about something I can't remember, but it spoke to me. And so I just
Mm.
typed in like yes. And then 1 week later we hopped on a call, and it's like, yeah, I decided to join her group program. And
Yeah.
from that point onwards, a series of events were just triggered. I was doing her weekly live activations. Sometimes I could make it, sometimes I couldn't, but I'll just watch a
Yeah.
replay. And from that point onwards, a bunch of events happened. And next thing you know, I felt like I wanted to find my soul family. And I hired this trance channeler who could channel like Arcturian light beings.
Oh,
But as
wow.
part of her service, she also offered theta healing. And as part of it, and I didn't even know what theta healing was, but after I experienced it, it was so profound, the effect, that I signed up for all the courses to be a theta healer that year. And shortly after that, and that was how I got into energy healing. And that was how I got into ascension work. It was
Mm.
basically, as time went on, things would be offered to me. It would drop on my lap, and it would be up to me to just take it. And then after that, it's been on and on and on, bit by bit, bit by bit. It'd be a bunch of series of events like that, that on its own seemingly meant nothing. But looking back now, it's like, oh my God. I feel like I was taken on a ride, but I didn't know that I was taken on a ride.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's kind of how my story was too. So 2021, I
Share.
was kind of back in the office after COVID, and I kept coming home and I was like, I don't know what my purpose is. Like I love what I do, but I don't
Mm,
feel like it calls to me. So
yeah.
I remember cleaning my room and I usually play music in the background, and I just got this inkling to put on a podcast. So I put on a
Yeah.
podcast about angels and awakening
Yeah.
by Julie Jancis, and a light bulb moment went off. I signed up for her membership. I signed up for her school, did all her courses, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I found what I was looking for.
Ah!
So I love how our stories kind of align where we just kind of found what we needed at that moment, and then the event
Yes.
just kind of follow through. And I think that's
Yes.
just
Yes.
divine timing, it
It
had to happen where it
is.
had to happen.
Absolutely. And like, do you think, just out of curiosity now, because, people have asked me this question as well, do you think that if the opportunities, in your case, to meet this person or to hear about this person based on her book or whatever, if it had arrived earlier, if it had arrived, say, a year earlier, do you think you would have had this light bulb
No,
moment? Would you have taken the action that you took eventually?
no.
No? Yeah.
I don't think so. No. Like I've always been spiritually curious. Like I've been into mediums and things like that. But there was always a part of me that was like, I don't want to, I don't want to. And then there's just like hearing her podcast was just a light bulb moment I can't describe. And then, she was having like a free month of her membership or something. And I just kept
Yeah.
hearing it in my head, like, go sign up, sign up. What are you going to lose?
Yeah.
And I think if I had that in 2020, I don't think I would have taken it. I mean, 2020 for me was very hard mentally for my mental
Mm,
health. So I think that was God's way of showing, like, hey, you've been through your mental health stuff.
hmm.
COVID's like, quote unquote, over. This is
Yes.
what I'm going to give you.
Oh, I feel that. It is really, really beautiful. And I,
Mm.
yeah, as you said, right? Like, it's divine timing. It's at that time you were already ready. And you had to go through what happened in 2020. I guess it's kind of like a human nature thing, right? We have to go through something so
Yeah.
terrible for us to wake up. Like, why
Yeah.
is it not possible for us to just go through some joy and, just follow that? We have to go through some suffering before we're willing to wake
I
up.
think we just need to like meet the certain people or hear the certain conversation.
Yes.
That happened for me with the podcast. Like first I typed in Teresa Caputo, but I've
Mm.
listened to Teresa Caputo for so long. Like I was like, what else am I gonna get from that? So then hopped in this other podcast. So I think
Mm.
it was their, God, universe, spirit's way of
Yeah.
leading me to the right path.
Beautiful. You just have to follow the breadcrumbs. And I'm so glad that
Yeah,
we followed the breadcrumbs, Christina.
I know. I do have to say, like, anybody that's listening, it is hard to follow the breadcrumbs when you're first starting out because you're fighting yourself of the society that you've lived in for so long. It took me
Oh God,
a
yes.
very long time to like completely be 100% into the spiritual community and because I was in the
Mm.
closet for a very long time.
Mm.
I'm still partially in there, but not like fully in there. But um, and then when I heard to do this podcast, I was like, "Are you sure?" They're like, "Yes, just do it. You're supposed to do it." So
Yeah.
here I am, following the breadcrumbs.
Shining in all your glory. And you never know where this is going to lead. You just never
Ex-
know. Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't take that leap, you don't know, is what they always
Yeah.
tell me. If you don't take the baby step, then you don't know.
Yeah. How can you expect to run if you're not willing to even crawl for a bit?
Exactly. But you're like reinventing yourself. Like you're talking about
Yeah.
crawling. We have to learn how to crawl and then we walk and
Mm.
then we can kind of run with the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another part of the reason why it seems so hard to follow the breadcrumbs is number one, there's a part of us that we want to know that it's going to get somewhere, and we want to
Hmm.
know what that final destination is, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like hardwired in us. It's like, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, I want to know the entire road ahead that leads up to this, and I need to know that this entire road ahead is going to lead up to the destination that at this present moment I believe that I want. When
Hmm.
really, it's in so many ways, it's like, oh my God, honey, you are meant for so much more. It's just
Yeah.
how it's like, please do not let your limited mind of where you're at now show you that this is the best that you can do, or that this is the ultimate destination that you can reach, because there is so much more, so
Yeah.
much more beyond your wildest dreams before,
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I think, anybody on here that's listening is curious at all. Just, you know, Google healers and just read the list and whatever calls to you, or listen back to old episodes. I've had a few healers on here now
Mm,
with different healing modalities. I try to have different healing modalities.
mm.
That way everybody can hear different things. But if somebody calls to you, check them out or check out a
Yeah.
topic, or if there's somebody in your area, try it. It
Mm.
doesn't hurt to try.
Yes, absolutely. Allow your curiosity to lead the way. And as you're following the breadcrumbs, or if you don't even want to see it as breadcrumbs, as you allow your curiosity to lead you, allow each experience to be just what it is, just an
Yeah.
experience. Maybe it leads to somewhere, or maybe it doesn't. Sometimes a lot of the experiences that you have, it's not going to connect as part of a dot in a whole until maybe sometime later,
Yeah.
when you're able to see how it all connects. So just allow everything to be just an experience, but allow yourself to go and have that experience, even if it
Right.
makes no sense. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're showing me a puzzle piece right now. So like every experience is a puzzle piece to the bigger picture, which we don't know.
Yes. Yes.
I've been in meditation where they show me the future of me having a studio and yoga mats, meditation and different healers, and also doing speaking events. But um, just take what's in front of you, but keep in mind what you want for the future. But remember that the future might be better than what you think.
Yes, yes. And as you're keeping in mind the vision that you want, I also want to add to that is to also allow your vision to change.
Yeah.
Because anything can change in a month, so what more a
Yep.
year or two down the line. If there is one thing that that I have that I still grapple with sometimes, is because I would have a vision or I would have a plan, and those plans I have come to realize those plans just don't pan out. But
Nope.
in the process of the plans don't panning out, what I get in lieu of that is so much better.
Yeah.
Honestly, so much better than what I could ever anticipate. And the upside is that yes, I get something that is so much better, way better than what my original plans were. But the other part, the darker, the shadow side, if we could say, of that is sometimes I think to myself, I guess I just don't know what I want. Because I just don't know what I want. Well, I'm just not dreaming big enough. But how can you dream big when it comes to something that you, for example, with theta healing or energy healing, I didn't know these things existed. So how can
Yeah.
I dream of wanting that when I don't know about it,
Yeah.
And I would always think to myself sometimes, is that, okay, so maybe I just don't know what I want. And you know what? Maybe acknowledging and admitting that I don't know what I want, maybe that's a key thing maybe that's important. Recognizing that actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't know what I want. I just know that I want to be the highest version of myself. So universe, spirit, God, creator, source, what about you just take the wheel and you just tell me, you just show me the best way forward, and I'll just take every single step going forward, trusting that it is going to lead me to the highest version of me in whatever way that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole truth, really, is
Yes.
that you just ask for them to show you the way, whether you decide to take the straight route, or I always like to say you take the long route and make your way back.
The scenic route.
Because it's so true. We all have free will. So even though if they show us to take this step, if we choose not to, there's nothing wrong with it. We're taking a little longer to get there.
Yes. And that in itself is also the right step, because we're always doing the best that we can at any given moment. So if we had decided to take the step that is the long route, that was probably the step that we needed to take at that time.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
you do what you feel calls to your heart. So if you want to do some kind of healing work and you're not ready, then you can just learn about it, study about it. And then when you're ready, you'll know. The podcast that I was listening to in one of her courses, Julie
Yeah.
Jancis's courses, she said, you can either follow the breadcrumbs or you don't. But then they don't leave you. They just are trying to give you messages along the way to try to get you back on the divine path. So it's not like if you don't do it, that you don't have, spirit, God, universe with you. They're just gonna they have to pivot the way of communicating with you or getting you back aligned into your path.
Yes, yes. Ah, I really love that. I really, really, really love that. And and when you're in that situation, you're just kind of thinking like, I also and a bit of a disclaimer there is that during the times when I have not followed the path, this was, I think, when I was first starting out, when I was first getting to spirituality, during the times when I have decided to not follow a particular nudge, it has never ended well for me. Never ended well for me. So now it just gets to a point where it's just like, okay, if that's the nudge, I'm just going to follow it. And, following the nudge isn't always easy, right, Christina? I think you know this, because you're going to have to overcome when there is a nudge, and there's some very specific nudges where it requires you to be a better you. And that means overcoming fears of failure, fears of being seen. It makes you dig deep
Mm-hmm.
into your money blocks. It makes you dig deep into, your fears of abandonment.
It
Right?
digs really deep in the fears. Like when I started this, I was like, you sure? Like, I'm not a speaker. I'm shy. I'm introverted. They're like, no, this is what you want. This is what you got to do. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, look, I'm like, I think 14 episodes in and have like another 5 or 6 recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and that was hard, like you have, because we're all self-critics. So
Yes.
we're our own hardest critic. So you have to like take that in. They've really taught me to like take in the fear
Mm.
and hand it over. So I have
Yes.
every once in a while these ceremonies with Archangel Michael
Mm.
where I sit with him and I just literally
Yeah.
give him all my worries and I feel just lighter. And I don't have to think about the worries anymore because he's like, I got you.
Yes. And oh, like, I mean, I Archangel Michael is just so beautiful. His frequency is so beautiful.
Hmm.
And like many times, do you agree that many times, sometimes just knowing that you're not alone and that someone's got you, even just that alone is already so, can have such life-changing effects.
Yeah.
Just the full knowledge that, wait, actually, yes, I am quite scared. And I do have this fear because I am human. But I have this angel here who's just got me, who's just going to catch me
Yeah.
when I fall. And just having that knowledge is already so good. It already feels so much, makes the whole situation feel
Mhm.
so much better.
Makes the situation feel better, but even then it's like asks for a sign is
Yeah.
where I do a lot,
Mm,
besides my meditations. And I've been posting them every once in a while on Instagram. I'll find a
mm,
penny or a feather or something.
yeah.
And I mean, not every penny and not every feather and animal is a sign, but if you feel that it's a sign, I take it as a sign. I get into stillness and I ask who gave me the sign if they decide to reveal themselves and
Mm,
what was the message with it. And you could be really specific with your signs. You know, one time I was asking for a cardinal from my grandmother, and it was in the winter,
mm.
and we don't normally see cardinals. And she sent me one through a Facebook post. It was a cardinal Facebook
Ah,
page that I've never followed before. And I was
yeah.
like, all right, Grandma, I know you're here with me. Everything's going to work out because I was stressing about I don't know what, but
Yeah.
I was like, all right, it's going to be all better. So I think the
Ah,
knowledge of
that's
knowing that
beautiful.
you have a spirit team of God,
Yes.
universe source, your angels, your loved ones, spirit guides, your
Mm,
higher self is with you all the time. But
yeah.
if you're looking for that validation, ask for that sign. Or what I do a lot is automatic writing. I just will write and see if somebody would want to write back.
Like
Um,
journaling? Is that what you
journaling.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like when I was first starting off, like I wrote a journal entry to my cousin who passed away way before her time,
Hmm.
and I asked for her to write back. So what I did is I got into a meditative state, and I just said, whatever you want me to write, you just let me know. So my strongest gift is clairaudience. So I would hear anything that she
Mm,
was saying, and I would write it down, not paying attention to what I'm writing, grammar, messiness, anything.
mm.
And the letter that she wrote back was just beautiful. And that's another way, like whatever calls to you, meditation, walking meditation, being in nature, asking for signs, journaling. I mean, there's so many different ways if you want that validation, but just knowing that you have a spirit team is very beautiful as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And would you say, as you were talking, the thing that came to mind was, when it comes to being in contact with your spirit team, we would have to be quite intuitive, would you say? Like, or at least intuitive enough, and have enough self-awareness, and a decent sense of perception, shall we say, and as well combining that with the thing I feel like when it comes to spirituality is the thing that I feel like based on what I've seen anyway,
Hmm.
it's come to mind that being intuitive is one thing, but secondly, the thing that comes to mind with is it's so important to have discernment,
Mm.
to be able to discern between the mind and what is, truly something, truly say something from your guides, that's truly
Yeah.
something from heart, to be able to discern between that, to be able to discern between, is this coming from a good source or is it coming from something more reptilian, for example, right?
Yeah. So what spirit has shown me is that if it's coming from your spirit team, it's only going to be loving and positive. So if it's not
Mm-hmm.
loving and positive, then it's most likely coming from your ego.
Yes, yes.
So anytime that I receive a message and it's not loving or positive, then I'm like, all right, it's my ego trying to come back and disrupt my beliefs, my spirituality. Why is my ego being this way? So then
Mm,
I'll get into a meditative state and I'll ask my spirit guides and my spirit team to be like, right, why is my ego feeling this way?
mm,
What can I do to shift my ego? Because our ego has ruled our world until now, until your spiritual awakening. It's going to follow you until the day you die because it's
mm.
trying to be the forefront.
Yeah.
Um,
It's there to
s-
protect us, really.
it
And
is
so
a
it's
protector.
about, yeah, and if we learn to work with it,
Yes.
collaborate with it with love and compassion, gosh, the things that we could achieve, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And there are days where my ego is just right in the forefront and
very
it's hard
loud.
to see past it, you know?
Yes. Oh, yes. Like sometimes it screams.
Mm-hmm.
It screams so loud. And, back in the day, I would identify with it so much.
Yeah.
But now I think, because, you mentioned meditation. Meditation has been the, the sort has been like, what's the word for it? It has been the bedrock of my
Mm.
spiritual awakening,
Yeah.
being in meditation, being able to create that space between the loud, screaming, urgent, most of the time unkind voice of the ego that's always urging and hustling and coercing and forcing, to be able to create that distance between the ego and that, so that I can hear the gentle, soft voice of intuition,
Yeah.
the gentle, soft voice of heart, has
Mm.
been incredibly life changing for me, truly, to be able to just slow things down and then to allow the voice to get comfortable with hearing what my voice of intuition looks like, because that looks and sounds different for everyone, right? So you were talking about how you are more clairaudient. I am more claircognizant and clairsentient.
Mm.
It's like one of the things that I just feel and I know, but my clairaudience is terrible. Truly, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, but it's so terrible. Honestly, it's just silence. It's like I can see, even the
Yeah.
clairvoyance. I can see beautiful visions and I can feel little things, but then like I hear
And I think some people say, they're just clairvoyant or they're just this. And I don't think that's the case. I think everybody's got these gifts. It's just how
nothing.
much you practice with them. So
Yes.
for me, I received clairaudience first because I
Yes.
believe that spirit doesn't want to give us all the gifts at once because then we're just going to get too overloaded. So they gave me
Yes.
clairaudience first, and then they gave me clairvoyance. A little fun fact is that when I started recording this podcast, I would wear headphones. And because clairaudience
Oh.
is my number one gift,
Mhm.
they couldn't give me messages through my ears. So they were sending me more images than I normally would receive and more feelings.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is very interesting.
So one day I just took off the headphones and now they're like, "Yay, you can hear us now." I mean, it's very interesting how the way that spirit works is that they'll
Yes.
give you whatever you need to
Mm.
hear, to see, to feel, to sense their messages.
Yes,
So I always,
yes.
when that happened to me, the first vision that they gave me was, imagine if you were a deaf person. When you're deaf, all your other senses heighten.
They wake up. It's like some
Yeah.
Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. So when they showed me that message, I was like, oh, okay, I'll take off the headphones from now on. And then now they can
Mm.
use all the gifts the same kind of speed instead of like
Yes.
only focusing on my eyes and my
Yeah.
feelings. I can
Yes.
just focus on all of them. So I
Mm.
wonder
Okay,
if
that's really
if that
interesting.
helps you to try. I I I wouldn't like focus on exactly hearing something. Like for me,
Mm.
everything is in my own inner dialogue. I don't hear other voices, and when I see only silhouettes or orb. It's
Okay,
only what
okay.
you want. Like you almost make this contract with God, universe, source, your spirit team of
Mm.
what you want to see. So I said I didn't want to see people. I just wanted to see silhouettes and get their energy so I could tell if they're male or female or, grandpa,
Mm.
grandma, things like that. And I said,
Yeah.
um, and from then on, they just only showed me silhouettes.
Interesting. Okay. So I think what I'm gonna do is next time I sit in meditation, I'm going to request that anything that is shown to me could be shown to me more in the form of in a form of maybe like music, in the
Yeah.
form of music and sounds, because at the moment like I love the clair that I have. It's like,
Yeah.
it's nice to just know things. You just know, to
Hmm.
just feel. um and even though it makes no sense whatsoever, sometimes you just know something and you're just like, this doesn't make sense. I have no evidence to prove
Yeah.
this is what this person is. And it's only like later months down the line, a month or two down the line, then it's like, oh, there it is. There it is. Like the hunch is like confirmed. But yeah, like I would love to be able, the clear audience is something that I would like to actually like, yeah, build up to, to get that coming back online, because I think it would be, yeah, it would be a really interesting experience. It's not because I feel like I need it or anything, but it's more of
Yeah.
like, it would be an experience, because we're all humans, right? We're here on earth
Hmm.
to experience that adventure of waking up, that adventure of ascension. So it's an experience that I would like to have. Yeah.
Yeah, and what they're actually bringing through to me is when I first started waking up my clairvoyance, is they first started with a chalkboard and they would write words, which they still use
Okay.
to this day.
Okay.
So you can start, like you said, with music, start very simple. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I just started with words, like give me a word.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got that word, then they started developing my dictionary. So that could be similar for you. Just be like, all right, give me a lyric that will resonate with
Mm.
the message and see how that works out.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna try that
And
out
if
later
not,
this
then you
afternoon.
pivot and you find something else.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm curious to try this. Yeah, thank you for this tip, Christina. I
Oh, you're
appreciate it so
welcome.
much.
So we're such in a good vibe. I'd love to continue with how do we
Mhm.
find our higher purpose through joy, and how do we find our purpose with our intuition? I think we dabbled a
So
little bit
for
in
me,
it already, but I think we
mm.
keep going.
I feel like we covered like all of it already, but just
Yeah.
in various ways. So okay, so the question is, how do we uncover our higher purpose through joy and our purpose through intuition? So I would say that both work together. So in to what I know, and because based on past experience, I feel like our soul communicates with us through joy.
Yeah.
In a way, it communicates with us through suffering as well, in a way that it shows us what is not for us. But I feel that, our natural state, our natural abundant state is joy. It's pure joy. It's just pure love. So when the way I've done it is when you can find what is bringing you joy and excitement at any given moment, what, the thing that makes you smile, the thing that makes your heart sing, when that is how your soul is going to lead you towards your highest purpose. Because a lot of the times, I think we had mentioned before how sometimes when we follow a breadcrumb, it requires us to dig deep into our fears because we have to be the better version of us. So the same thing works here. If your soul were to give you, okay, if my soul were to tell me, okay, Andy, my highest vision for you is in the future, you are going to hold planetary mission retreats. You're going to take people to beautiful sacred sites and you're going to teach them how to feel into the energy and work the earth grids there. If my soul revealed this to me 2 years ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about? What is this thing that you're talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is the part of following the breadcrumbs. It has to be slowly revealed to you bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, because you have to be ready to take it. And not only do you have to be ready to take it, you have to be in a position where you understand what is required of you.
Yeah.
And so that is the process of following your joy, as allowing your joy to bring to you your divine purpose. But at the same time, as you're in the process of doing that, you have to have zero attachment to the outcome. I think we mentioned this before, where I had said, allow every experience to just be what it is. It's just an experience. This thing is not going to lead you towards becoming the president of the United States. I don't mean that. It's just maybe this bouldering experience can just be, I have a really, really good time bouldering. I had this particular insight drop in, and this is exactly what it is, right? And then as you're following your joy, you also have to allow yourself, allow your intuition to tap in, allow your intuition to tell you, hey, maybe this is where this trail ends. Because at some point, because as part of human beings, when we commit to something, we don't like to change because we've committed all this time, or we've invested all this time and effort and blood and sweat and toil and tears, that we don't want to pivot. But sometimes when the excitement has already waned, or when the joy has already gone out and you can't see yourself being joyful or being excited, even if you overcome this particular hurdle, it's time to stop and it's time to pivot. And it's okay to pivot. Maybe that's what it's required. It's probably going to be a bit scary because it's like, oh my gosh, I have to start from scratch again. But maybe if you stayed on the current path and you're not finding it fun anymore, maybe you're just playing small. Right?
Yeah.
And especially during these times, it's so important to tune into intuition and ask, whether it's asking your spirit guides or asking source, or just tuning into, your soul, your intuition, and just going like, is this really the end of this particular chapter? Is it safe for me to pivot to something else? And the loud voice of the ego will be like, oh hell no, like, you've invested this much time. If you quit, you're gonna be a failure. If you quit, you're gonna just show to your parents or show to the rest of the world that you couldn't make it and you couldn't hack it after all, as this insert job. But you don't owe your life to anyone other than yourself.
This is so true.
It is your life, and only you live your life. And the only validation that you need to listen to is yours.
That's beautiful.
And that is how joy and intuition can lead you bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit to your higher purpose. And the journey is not going to be easy all the time. It's going to require you to heal. It's going to require you to dive deeper into who you are. But then one day you're going to be ready for all that is for you. And you're going to be ready to see how all the dots connect. And on that day, truly on that day, you're going to be so mind blown by what you have created and the journey that you have taken to get to where you are.
That was beautiful. I could just feel the high vibrational energy off of you right now.
And this is the beauty of you doing what you do, creating this podcast, is to share this transmission, because so much of it's unspoken. It can't be spoken. It can only be felt.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
So I don't want to end this podcast, but we're almost up on time. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
We'll find another time to talk about something else.
Yes, we will. So where can people find you? So if you have social media, your website, and what offerings do you have?
Okay, so the best place to find me is on my website, www.andreafung.com. And I'll share the links with you, Christina, so you can
Yep.
put it on there. You can find me also on Instagram. My Instagram handle is the Andy Ventures. A free offering I have is I have this free meditation that connects you to your heart and higher self. The link is on there. I'm pretty sure if it's not on my website, it will be on my Instagram as well. In terms of my offerings, I have packages of 3 sessions, 6 sessions, just to start off with. And then after that, if we really, really enjoy working together, and if we feel like there is more that we could explore together, deep dive together in a conducive way, then I have options to work together for 3 months, 6 months, or even 12 months. But with every new client that I take on, I start off with the 3 sessions first, because I want to build that connection, build that rapport, because, when it comes to doing this work, because if we are sharing energy, it's quite intimate. And we don't want to share energy with just anyone, right? We want to share energy with the right people. And so working with those 3 sessions and 6 sessions first, I feel like that allows us to get comfortable with each other. And at the same time, we get to work together on helping you, slowly dissect and unravel what are the initial issues that allow us to go deeper for a longer term container.
That's amazing. So if this
Yes.
interests you, go find her because I love her Instagram. She was just in Egypt recently, and we were chatting before the podcast. And there's certain spots in the world that just are so vibrational, and
Yes.
I'm gonna have to put that one on my bucket list.
Yes, please. It is beautiful. Egypt is truly, truly beautiful. Going inside the pyramids is one thing, but there are some other lesser known pyramids that are not in Giza, that
Mm.
are the very first few ones that were created, that were built, and those were mind blowing as well. Just to be able to go in there and sing, because each of the pyramids are amplifiers. So if you go there next
Mhm.
time, give yourself the chance to sit there and just sing and let your throat feel, and let your throat chakra just unravel.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
Do you have any last final words before we wrap up the podcast?
Last final words. I think that the words that come to mind with everything that we've spoken about is that just trust yourself. Like, so much more than you think you do. And in connection to what we had said before about how no one else gets to live this life, the only validation you need for your life and your journey is yours. No one else. Because no one else knows you. No one else is going to be able to determine the highest version of you. Only you do that. And no one else is going to be able to fully experience the beauty and the joy and that sense of utmost fulfillment and satisfaction from being the highest version of you other than you. So give yourself that chance to find out.
That's amazing. And just remember that your experience isn't going to be the same experience as others. So I know,
Yes.
like for me, when I was starting my spiritual awakening, people were saying, "Oh, I'm seeing all these things." And I'm like, "I'm not seeing anything." And that was because I wasn't supposed to get that one first. So I always like to remind people, everybody's journey is different.
Yes.
And that's why there's so many healers on this earth. That's why there's so many books and so many, different offerings. It's because there's so many different ways to understand spirituality and all the different modalities. People are still making modalities to this day. I mean, watch 10 years
Yeah.
down the road, there's going to be a few more. Who knows?
Absolutely. And those modalities, it's not for everyone. Some are for
No.
some people and some are for some other people. And it all contributes to the beauty of being alive and the beauty of being a unique human being. We're not meant to be the same. How
Mm.
boring would life be if we were the same? There's no one right or wrong. There's no one right way or the right way or one wrong way. It's a number of ways to be wrong and a number of ways to be right. And maybe it's not even right or wrong. Maybe it just is.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrea, for being on the podcast today. I loved it so much.
Thank you for having me, Christina. It was so much fun, and I cannot count how many times I had goosebumps just kind of
Yeah.
come up on my head. It was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Friends, we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. As always, you can always find me on ChristinaAngelMessenger.com or Christina Angel Messenger on Facebook or Instagram. I am currently revamping my website and going to put out a new offer of Angel Reiki, which is a Reiki session where I cleanse and clear any blockages through your chakras, but also tune into your spirit team and bring through messages from the other side, whether it be from your angels, your guides, your loved ones. So I will let you know as soon as I've revamped the website and added that offering in there. I'm currently in the process of changing the business name to kind of just start fresh with this new offer. Please stay tuned. If you like this podcast episode, please subscribe, leave a like, a comment, share with your friends and family. I want this podcast to be a journey where we can all learn about different healing modalities, feel what resonates and what doesn't. Spirituality is such a big beast of a topic. And I'm learning along with you. I don't know everything. I just had my spiritual awakening 2 years ago. So if there's anybody that you'd like on the podcast, please let me know. Or if there's a certain topic that you want us to discuss, please let us know. And as always, have a blessed day.